Welcome back, AP Macroeconomics students. Today we're going to talk about topic 2.6, real versus nominal GDP. So something to help you understand the concept of real versus nominal GDP is to consider movies. If you look at the most popular movies of all times, you can look at their total gross. But what would you have to do to get a more accurate idea of how much real money is earned? You need to look at the real box office receipts, or adjusted for inflation. When we adjust for inflation, it helps us understand the true economic impact. If a country's GDP increased from 4 billion to 5 billion in one year, is the country really experiencing economic growth? Or did it just produce 25% more products? Well, what is inflation? Inflation is a rising general level of prices, as if you remember. Apples are the only thing being produced. In year one, if you have 10 apples at $1 each, your GDP is $10. In year two, if the price goes up to $1.25, your GDP is $12.50. The GDP is rising, but the country is worse off. Moving on to the definitions of real and nominal GDP. Nominal GDP, or numerical, is the GDP measured in current prices. It does not account for inflation from year to year, whereas real GDP is expressed in constant or unchanging dollars. It adjusts for inflation. Real GDP is better than nominal GDP. It's more accurate. Real GDP deflates nominal GDP by adjusting for inflation in terms of base year prices. So we have what's called the GDP deflator. The GDP deflator measures the prices of all goods produced, where the CPI measures the price of only the goods and services bought by consumers. An increase in the price of goods bought by firms or the government will show up in the GDP deflator, but not in the CPI. The GDP deflator includes only those goods and services produced domestically. Imported goods are not part of it, therefore they don't show up. So the equation is the GDP deflator equals nominal GDP over real GDP times 100. If the nominal GDP in 2009 was $25 and the real GDP was $20, how much is the GDP deflator? You just have to fill into the equation to get your answer. Again, the GDP deflator equals nominal GDP over real GDP times 100. Or if we move nominal GDP over, nominal GDP equals the deflator times real GDP over 100. Here's a couple of examples and some AP questions. Thank you.